Let's get started. Hello and welcome. I'm Melanie Langlotz, the CEO of GeoAir Games, and today we would like to talk to you about how we can use exagames or digital playgrounds to connect kids or families with nature, and give you a couple of case studies how we've done that. So first of all, we got very much discovered due to COVID, because all the playgrounds were closed. It was difficult to provide families with something to do at parks. And this is what we are about. We are about connecting families and kids with nature. And while we have, I have my own personal history of having a 7-year-old stepdaughter back then in 2011 who lost all interest in going to the park that she used to love, because all of a sudden she got hooked on games, and games provide instant gratification, which nature doesn't. And so when they start to get hooked on devices, it's that competition between, like nature not being able to provide that instant gratification that they're getting from games. So what we thought of was, what if we took the best of the games back out into nature to teach kids about nature, and what would that look like? So I would like to tell you a little bit, or show you a couple of examples and case studies what we have done. If you do hear weird whistling in the background, that will be my parrot Bo, who is always attending webinars. So all of our games are based on being ethical. So we don't allow in-app advertising purchases, and we definitely don't allow third-party data mining. We make sure that our content is all gender neutral, and we don't allow violence or shooting. And we want it to be free to play for the community. So those are pretty much, this is the basis of all of our games, and to make sure that it is suitable for any municipality, any city, any community space around the world. So Coral Gables in Miami, they discovered us back in 2020, which was fantastic, and we managed to get on CBS. And I thought I'll play you that clip now to see what they had to say on the news about us.
Now at 6, a new program in Coral Gables is hoping that technology will help families get their children to leave their gadgets behind and go outdoors and get some exercise. CBS 4 photojournalist Peter Miranda was at Crystal Academy as the students there were ready to play at one magical park.
Ready, set,
This is Magical Park, which is the first digital playground experience in the U.S. What we did is we looked at, during these COVID times, a possible outlet for children to get out in the parks and play without using equipment. And what we were able to do is find a digital application that provides interactive experiences out in the parks through the use of a tablet or a phone. And it was something that was being done overseas in New Zealand and Australia. And we were able to find this application and bring it to the US. And we're excited that today is the first day that we're able to open up our Magical Park. And we're doing it here at the Coral Gables War Memorial Youth Center field. And we have our first group out there testing it out. And it'll be open for the entire city tomorrow for Coral Gables. I think it's a wonderful outlet. I think, we're all looking for things to enjoy, to have fun, to go out, be active. Everyone's been inside their homes for quite a long time now, and I think this is another outlet. It provides something different, something exciting, something new that we haven't seen before, and I think our community is going to really enjoy it.
Fantastic. So what do you need for a magical park? You need a large open playground space. Something that looks like this. This is our local park at the Huia Reserve, which is where I normally do my testing. It needs to be about the size of a soccer field or a football field, flat with mobile reception. You don't need any hardware to install it, and we are happy to give you a free demo park if you want to know what it's like. So what happens inside a magical park? We have 8 games at the moment. We're working on a 9th game, which is Save the Bees, which will be ready in about March. And we have other environmental games that teach kids about conservation. And so little Jacob here is going to tell you a little bit about the Evergreen game.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm your local ambassador for Magical Park. And today I played Evergreen. It's a very fun game. It's about recycling. It's basically a game when there's 4 trees, and the thing what you have to do with the trees is you pick up the right rubbish and take it to the right trees. So basically you have to pick up the apples and take them to the compost tree.
Why, thank you, youngling.
And also you pick up like boxes and juice boxes to the pizza tree. And also there's like glass bottles and stuff that you take to the glass tree. And then you have to pick up the plastic stuff and you take it to the gift tree. So you should play that game to learn to recycle and also to keep your park clean. Go to your local park and celebrate Parks Week.
So this was one of the games that we put forward to Parks Week. Here is another one which you can see I'm playing live. I'm just going to lower the volume a little bit here so it's not quite as loud. And so this is our ocean rescue game. In the ocean rescue game, you have 2 things that you need to do. You either need to clear up the coral reef and pick up all the rubbish to restore it and bring it back to its former glory, bring all the residents back. What's been amazing is that as the kids play the game, they then start to pick up the real rubbish in the park, which is fantastic. Neat, it works. So as you can see, I'm walking around the park, and as I pick up rubbish, nature is being restored, and and the fish come back and all the wildlife. The second part of that game, if I just jump a little bit forward, is, and I'm hoping that I've got that in here, I might not, is that, I've got my thing here in the way, the bar. So here we can see it a little bit further restored, so you see the coral reef is coming back. And then there is another version of the game where you have to free animals that were trapped in fishing nets, which teaches kids a little bit about the impact of trawling or overfishing. So let's go to the next one. So then we've got the Australian Explorer game, which was the most recent one that we added. And the interesting thing with the Australian Explorer game is that it's also our first game that works for vision impaired players. There is an audiobook that is based around the game, so a player who cannot see can hear the animal noises, learns about the various stories about each animal. All the facts have got a voiceover as well as being able to be read out. And as I'm walking around the park, I can see my Australian animals and I can connect with them and learn about them. So I'm going to jump a little bit further forward in the game. Here you learn about the dingo, and now you will be able to see me walking around the park and collecting those animals as I go. This game could be made for anyone really. Like if you wanted to have a local version of this game with your local fauna and flora, we can absolutely do that. We can swap out those animals, swap out the facts, teach them about native animals, native flora, fauna, pest control, whatever it is. The current game has been developed with the City of Canning in Australia. We have messages about habitat loss in there and other messages around conservation. And the kids absolutely love it. They love collecting the facts about each individual animal. They think it's fantastic, and there's always loads of things in there that they didn't know about. It's also quite easy for us to update and add new facts and keep it current. So that's what makes it fun for the kids. Now, another thing that we have developed with the City of Canning in Australia are the interactive AR frames. They had an interesting problem where their wetland in Canning was used as a dumping ground for rubbish by a lot of residents. And they were keen to teach their community about the importance of water quality. So what we did is we developed augmented reality frames. Each frame is a different game or a different experience or simulation. And I will show you what that looks like in a second. So the frames or the artwork for the frames is based on a mural, which you may just be able to make out here in the distance. And so we use that to design the frames, and each frame has got the call to action of what the game is about and how to download it or where to find the app. Here is a photo of the live data experience. So in the pond, there are various microsensors to teach you about water quality and microclimate. And you can see the various data sets at the top. Now, what that looks like when I'm simulating it at home, I've got the image of the frame on my whiteboard, and you can see me walking around it with my phone. You can hear the ambient sounds that we added to the simulation to make it a little bit more realistic. And you will be able to see at the timestamp 5:38 in Canning, which is when the data will be updated. It's normally updated every 1 or 2 hours. Now, the beauty about this is that I'm able to look right and close. I can look at the native sleeping turtle, the perches. I can look at the motorbike frog in the background. And I have the ability to really explore that 3D wetland scene, which is far more interesting for the kids, especially if they cannot find the animals that we're trying to tell them about. So it's a great way for them to learn and get curious. Plus, they see the data that's coming through from the sensors. Now, another version here is we then took this for the simulation game where we get the kids to learn about what are the things that we're measuring. So we're measuring oxygen and nitrate and the temperature, and what does that all mean? How does that link to the actions that we don't want you to do or we want you to be aware of? So why is feeding the ducks not a great idea? Because it does increase the nitrate in the pond. So this specific simulation, as you can see, has got the sliders for the user to change the nitrate levels, the temperature, the chlorophyll, or the actions. And as a result, they can see firsthand what happens in the wetland. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea if the nitrate goes up? So this is a simulation for families or kids or schools to experiment and really learn about what happens if, for instance, I'm feeding the ducks. And what we found is that schools absolutely love this frame. It's the one with the highest amount of views in the park because it is such a valuable simulation to teach kids about environmental science. So you can see I'm feeding the birds and the nitrate goes up. And therefore the kids are having this aha moment. This is what happens when I put, for instance, pollutants down the drain or when I'm using fertilizer. So it really is a very powerful simulator that creates a aha moment. Now carrying on to the next one. So we do have the motorbike frog, which is called a motorbike frog because it sounds like a motorbike changing gears. We've got a little bit about information about the frog in the game. And this is one of the most popular games with the kids because they get to swipe and the frog either crashes into obstacles or, like they collect points for eating the right insects. And if they jump into rubbish or even apple cores, they lose points. So winning points and losing points is a really, really easy way for kids to learn what's the right action, what's the wrong action. There isn't any preaching or any teaching involved. It's all a discovery by learning. Learning by discovery, which is what we base all of our game design on. So it's very powerful. Here we have one with the Gold's wattled bat. So this is the local bat in the area. And we're teaching kids that the bat is eating moths and how it catches moths. So in this case, it didn't do a very good start. So we're going to start again. The player has to tap on the screen to keep the bat flying and catch the moths. Again, a very popular game for the kids. And they realize that that bats eat all sorts of night insects, and that they have a really, really important function in the environment. So again, another game that kids really love, and that's very popular. On to the next one. So this is what the frames look like. Again, you have the description on the side. You've got the artwork. The artwork can be anything, but we will help you design that since there's a bit of a knack to it. So then each AR frame has got an interactive map, and that looks like this. It can be as elaborate as you like, but it basically gives people an idea where is what, where do I find the AR frames, where are the facilities or amenities or whatever. And you will find that most people these days don't actually know how to read a map anymore. So for them, looking down at a game view is much, much easier to remember where is what because they're used to it from gaming. So we can create the map as elaborate as you like or as detailed as you like. And as you tap on each of those icons, you get additional information. Great way to tie it into the community and into what's happening. Now, this is what the frames look like embedded now. This was straight after the installation, so you see that the wetland hasn't quite grown the plants back yet. By now it looks absolutely amazing and is theming with life. It is a really, really great destination for schools. This is the Wolf Street Basin is a walkthrough park, so it's not a destination park. But nevertheless, the frames are getting a good use and people are interested to learn more about the water quality, so it's doing its dash. The good thing about the frames also is that it doesn't need any marketing because they look curious enough for people to come up and check out what do they do. So it's marketing embedded into it, because often you have the problem that you have made an app, but how are people going to find out about it? So this is a great way to let them know. Now here is something that we also feel is connected to nature, which is our civil defense education. So this game was developed to teach kids about natural disaster, which we have a lot of. We're teaching kids what needs to go into the emergency kit, but also what actions to take or not to take during, for instance, a storm. Stay away from power lines. The next one we're looking at is floods. So we did hear from one school that the kids love going out during floods in kayaks. That's an absolute no, and every single event will tell you not. So again, we're teaching kids what to do in floods. Earthquakes, very common over here, probably very common in San Francisco as well. Drop, cover, hold is our motto. The game will literally measure whether you're dropping to the ground and you're doing drop, cover, hold. And it also teaches you to stay away from cracks, because otherwise you can do it. Then the next one that we have is tsunamis. So tsunamis obviously very important that kids learn how to that they need to get to higher ground really fast. That was an interesting challenge for us because this is an augmented reality game. There is a tsunami wave, and so we have steers that basically you have to run up, and with every steer you learn how much higher you are up on the volcano. It's probably the most popular game for game intense. You have to avoid comes for you, but they also that in this case you don't stay and hang around. You get to the car and you're back. Now here you see our emergency kit and one of the things that we have collected. But the other thing is that we now have a pandemic level, which at the moment is only available on a Chromebook. But so this emergency management game you can either play on a device in a park, and it can be any park, or you can play it on a Chromebook, and it's free to play and has been developed by the New Zealand government, and we are happy to develop a similar version for any other country or city that is interested in letting their community know what nature has in store for you and how you should react. Cool. The next one is South Seas Island Resort in Florida. We developed the QR code scavenger hunt for them specifically to help kids connect with nature. Captiva Island had already 20 stations and with facts about nature, about the various animals and fauna flora that they would encounter. And at each station, the kids would pick up a silicone bracelet. The silicone bracelet, obviously, at the end, they would have 20 of them, and they were meant to return it back to the information station. And that wasn't a great idea during COVID. So they came to us and said, can you add a digital layer, which is what we did. We redesigned the posters. We added a QR code to the bottom, which you can see there. The QR code has two functions. It either takes you to the Apple Play Store to find the app, or if you have the app open, you collect the various rewards for each station. So if you are scanning the dolphin poster, you get rewarded with a dolphin in your virtual landscape in the game. So what does that look like? You walk around the 20 stations, you scan each QR code, and by the end of it, you receive the final prize, which instead of the wall where you would have put the card, is a pirate dance with your face in it, which you can then share on social media if you choose to. Because a lot of people can't go to Captiva Island, we basically put a treasure map together. So if you are interested in how this works, you can see what the map looks like here at the top. This is Captiva Island with the 20 stations. Bit of history and story about it. And then on the second page, we have all the QR codes collected for you to play. So you don't have to go to Captiva. You can just play from the comfort of your home, but this is not the intention of this game. Obviously, we do want to use this as a case that other cities can adopt and put into their parks. It's a very low cost opportunity to teach kids about nature, make it fun, give them a reason to walk from station to station in anticipation of what they are going to collect at the next one. So here's our little Electra explaining how the game works.
I am making 6 sail to Captiva Island to discover treasure. Follow the trails to find the 20 hidden stations. Then scan the QR codes to learn the secrets about the island's wildlife and plants. Don't be a landlubber.
I love it.
Download the Scoutabout app and join the crew of eco-pirates.
And receive a pirate dance and redeem the treasure voucher.
What are you waiting for? Yarr!
And that brings us to the end of some of the case studies that I talked about today. We do have more in store. As I said, we're currently working on a Save the Bees game for Magical Park, together with a number of bee organizations from the US and New Zealand. We're also currently working on a augmented reality frame experience for Happy Valley and Adelaide, where we will be teaching people about where their water comes from and how water treatment works. So watch this space, and we will have more of an update of what's to come. And that concludes my talk, and we are able to take any questions if there are any. Have you guys got any questions?